Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community was budget cars. All the cars you see here were bought from the Forza garage for 10,000 credits or less. They were upgraded to B class. You could use whatever money you wanted on the upgrades. However, the cars themselves had to cost 10,000 credits or less. The first race was at the Burmese Alps circuit, a track that I very much like. We don't use it too often in versus the community as it's a little bit difficult to very difficult to overtake around here. However, I do think it's a good track. It's very fast, very flowing. On the opening lap, I was involved in all sorts of close racing through these first few sections. I was on the inside of an RX-7 at one point. A CRX had a look at the inside of my car through one of those. There's a little bit of carnage, unfortunately, at the end of the sort of the downhill back straighty bit, which is often the case on here. People just misjudging their braking points. Can be a little bit of a tricky corner, that one, sometimes. As I said, it is a very tough place to overtake around here. We don't see too much overtaking because there are very, very little in the way of braking zones. Most of the overtaking that's done here is purely my car is faster than yours in a straight line and you go past. While yes, you do need a car that has plenty of grip and plenty of downforce to really enjoy this track because all of the corners are very, very fast, there is just so little in the way of braking zones. Two evenly matched cars around here, straight line speed wise, that is so hard to overtake because it's just the smallest of braking zones. This Focus was all over the back of a CRX and it wouldn't be long before he got past. Just simply better straight line speed through some of these sections. He has a look at the inside at the final corner. The CRX goes quite defensive, however runs a little bit wide on the exit, allowing the Focus up the inside, and then it's just a drag race down to the first corner. Your best bet for overtaking is the first corner. You got the downhill straight and the first corner, the corner at the end of the downhill straight, and this first corner, your best bets for getting any overtaking done, unless you're going to be very, very brave and try and go too wide through some very fast corners. Even this corner, though, it is not a particularly big braking zone. It's a very, very wide corner. You can carry a lot of speed. So, yeah, it was a slightly less action-packed race, this one. At the front, however, things were to be a different story. The MR2 had pulled out a huge lead on me over the sort of the first 3 laps. However, a very scruffy lap from him meant I was now right back behind him and looking for a way past. As I said, that is not so easy, especially when the MR2 was a little bit faster in a straight line. My Volvo was a little bit better through the corners. That is a weird thing to say. I certainly didn't expect to see these two being rivals. Not your normal sort of racing rivalry. On the final corner, I got to the inside. The MR2 ran very, very wide. However, he could carry plenty of speed. Again, it's another very wide corner there, so you can carry plenty of speed on the outside, and by the time we get to the first corner, the MR2 is back in the lead. My Volvo was remarkably good handling considering its size. This was the car that I used in the estate car racing we did a while ago. I was running very low on time the day that this was all filmed. I had to use whatever car I had in my garage, and I knew the Volvo was a pretty good car, so I gave it a shot. I didn't know how it would compare to the rest of these vehicles. Turns out 850R is a pretty damn good B-class car, as I was still right on the back of the MR2. You can see how hard we were pushing these cars as we both brushed the wall going down the hill. I just couldn't find a way past. It is incredibly tricky to get an overtaking manoeuvre done here on a car that's a little bit quicker. We're not talking very much quicker, this MR2. It's just enough quicker than me. That was terrible English, I apologise, to make it really, really difficult. MR2 gets himself all out of shape. I ended up understeering just a little bit wide, and we're still nose to tail. I poked my car up the inside trying to get a better drive, and sure enough I can take the better line out of this corner. The problem is the MR2 just has the acceleration and I can't do anything about it. I have to follow him again through these S's. Come towards the final corner. This is probably my best shot. I tried a similar move to the one I did last time. The MR2 was wise to it though. Doesn't run as wide. I end up understeering a little bit as we go around here and I lose a little bit of time. There really wasn't a huge amount going on in this race. A few cars were damaged, I think, fairly early on, and the field got quite spread out. So there wasn't a massive amount of overtaking or any really close racing for that matter. Third position was to swap hands as the RX-7 just ran a little bit too wide in the final corner, allowing the Focus to get past. These two fairly evenly matched in a straight line. I think the Focus might have been a little bit better through the corners, and in the end the RX-7 couldn't do anything to get back at the Focus. This can be a bit of a tricky track sometimes, especially that final. I'm not a huge fan of the final corner. I like the rest of this track. That final corner, I'm never quite sure on how to drive. Lots of different lines through there and very easy to make a little bit of a mistake. At the front, as I said, for the final half of this race, I was hounding the back of the MR2. We were setting very, very similar lap times around here. The MR2 would go a little bit too wide again, brushing the wall on the final lap. It pretty much evened out the aero damage of our cars, that collision, meaning the straight line speed advantage of the MR2 was now gone. I got a very, very quick run through that corner, again right on the tail of the MR2, but I can't do anything through here. These corners have just got too small a braking zone that for me to really be able to make the most of my good handling Volvo. Again, still right on the tail of the MR2 through this next corner. There's a back marker going very, very sideways. I can't do anything about it. I tried pulling out the slipstream, and this is where that little bit of aero damage on the MR2 meant I thought I had a bit of a chance. I tried to get side by side. I couldn't do anything about it though. As you come up towards the final corner, the back marker thankfully gets well out of the way to let us pass, but I just understeer a little bit wide. I threw everything I could at the MR2. It was a great fun race. I really did enjoy that one. Unfortunately, elsewhere, it wasn't quite as exciting. The MR2 ended up taking the victory. I didn't expect to see an 850R with closely racing against an MR2. It's not your normal sort of rivalry. We move on to our second race at the Tsukuba circuit. Run up towards the first corner. I think it was 4 wide at one point, with me being on the outside, which is not a good place to be. The Volvo in front of me gets very, very sideways. I kind of get boxed in between the Volvo and a Datsun. I end up on the grass doing a little bit of rallycross with me with my estate car, which is not such a good idea. I lose a couple of places, almost a couple of places. We run into the hairpin. It's all very chaotic. It's all very close on this opening lap. We run towards the Dunlop Bridge, watch the Pinto as he gets a double overtake on our Volvos. While I go around the outside of a 242 Turbo, the Pinto goes up the inside of the pair of us. That's going to be overtake of the evening, going up the inside of 2 very large Volvos. That corner is pretty damn scary, so well done to him for managing to pull that off. Now it's the drag race down the back straight, and it is the 242 that is very quick in a straight line, one of the quickest cars here in a straight line. My 850R is not bad, but certainly not as quick as the other Volvo. However, I do have better brakes. I can brake later, and I have a lot more grip, so I can stay around the outside. There were 3 wide further back as well. It's all happening on the opening lap. Certainly more exciting than the Alps track. The Civic sees me coming as I have a big dive into the first corner and gives me space. Managed to get past him. Yeah, it was a pretty damn eventful opening lap of this track. Further back, the racing carried on. The Alpha, I think this car had started either on the back row or very near the back, was working his way through the field, trying to find his way past a Golf, and manages to get the move done as they come up towards the final corner. However, the Golf is having none of it, and as the Alpha gets a big slide coming towards the back straight, the Golf's back up the inside. And again, we have another drag race down towards the final corner. I expected the Alpha actually to struggle. I seem to remember building one of these, and while I could make them handle really well, I could never get a decent straight line speed one. This one though seemed pretty damn fast in a straight line to the cars that he was racing with. Gets himself on the inside of the Golf as they run across the start finish line and up towards the first corner, where you want to be really for trying and overtaking him. Very nearly clouts the back of a Mazda, and the Alpha manages to get kind of a double overtake in the first corner. Pretty damn good overtake that one as well. Goes up the inside of the Golf and around the outside of the Mazda. That's pretty good going as they run into the hairpin. Still everybody's battling. There's a Volvo and a Civic side by side, and the Golf got around the outside of the Mazda. Yeah, eventful race at Tsukuba. Tsukuba often does produce some quite good racing. There's plenty of places to overtake. Still can be a little bit tricky to overtake at times, especially when you're racing against a car with a lot of straight line speed, as the Alpha and Golf would find out in trying to get past this Volvo. He gives the Alpha plenty of space. The Volvo just has the acceleration and can get past them. Unfortunately, a Datsun that ended up facing the wrong way at the hairpin. Not entirely sure what happened on that one. I have to go back and have a look. Messed that up a little bit for the Volvo. The Alpha managed to sneak his way past, and now it is the Golf's turn to try and find his way past. It turns out it's quite tricky to overtake that car with significant, I wouldn't say massively significant, but certainly noticeable more straight line speed. The Golf had a big dive at the hairpin. You know, that dive was never likely to work. And then we come on to the back straight, and you'll see the amount of, or sort of the gap the Volvo has made up down this back straight to the Alpha. Really is quite large, and as they run into the final corner, the Golf is too far back to really try anything. Sure, through the corners the Golf is quicker, but when you lose that much time in a straight, it's very, very hard to find a way past. This train would stay together for a while, but it wouldn't be a proper FailRace versus the community without somebody falling over, and that job fell to the Datsun that just clipped the curb at the Dunlop Bridge. We've seen it happen a few times there. It's a little bit of an odd one. The curb there is not particularly massive, or it doesn't look particularly massive, but we have seen a few cars end up on their roof there. The racing carried on throughout the field. I think this is for 11th or something, or 10th or 11th position. These lots are arguing over, and again, another example of just having that little bit more straight line speed is pretty damn useful for the Integra here as he flies past the Mazda down the back straight. Through the corners, these two are very even, but just having that little bit more straight line speed makes overtaking that little bit easier, and it makes defending a bit easier as well. You can be a real pain to the cars behind you if you've got that bit more straight line speed, even on a track like this that is a very twisty, very turny track. It certainly does come in useful, and the Golf was finding out the frustration of trying to find a way past a faster car. The Alfa had vanished up the road, and the Golf just couldn't pass the Volvo. There's a little bit of lag going on, don't mind that. The Golf stayed around the outside, a very, again, an impressive overtaking attempt to keep yourself around the outside at the hairpin. Problem is the Volvo will just out-drag him as they come into the final corner. The Golf is very sideways. I've seen that a few times in this video. The Golf getting very sideways. He has enough grip to get up the inside of the Volvo as they come up towards the first corner. Somehow in the camera change they swap sides. I'm still not sure how they how they managed to do that. Either way, the Volvo was still holding on to his position, and the Golf just couldn't do anything about it. They come up towards your next good overtaking opportunity at the hairpin, and the Golf's too far back. He can't really do anything. Over the course of the lap, I have no doubt the Golf would set a faster lap time. Problem is, he just can't find a way past. Again, through the Dunlop Bridge, he'll close right up to the back of the Volvo. And even through here, even if he could get his car on the inside, the problem is, it's not a huge back straight, but it's still sizable enough. While the Golf tries everything he can do, the Volvo gets a big slide on the exit. Even with a poor exit from the Volvo, he will still pull a sizable gap to the car behind, and you're just out of brake. It's not a big enough braking zone to really try anything into this final corner. So yeah, the Golf was having a hard time. At the front, however, it was to be a Yaris that would take the win. The car started on the front row, managed to avoid all of the chaos on the first lap, and pretty much drove away from the field as he does a celebratory slide around the final corner. This car was half a second quicker than the rest of the field, and while we were all squabbling, yeah, he pulled a pretty sizable gap and could cross the line at a crawl. The battle for second, though, or the race for second, was an awful lot closer at this one. Once I'd sort of sorted myself out after an eventful start, I set about closing down the second place Volvo and spent most of my time closing the gap. It was on the very final lap that I caught up to the back of him, and I now had to find a way past in one lap. Nothing like a bit of pressure to try and get past. My car was just that bit better through the corners, just that little bit more planted. Straight line speed-wise, we were very, very evenly matched. As we come out of the Dunlop corner, I got a better exit. I was trying to position my car on the inside for the hairpin, just ran out of road. Not the first time I ended up on the grass on this track. My final opportunity to get an overtake would be on the last corner, so I positioned myself. I think we both got a little bit out of shape on the exit of that corner. Positioned myself on the inside, which I do, as I said, very evenly matched in a straight line. I was a little bit behind, but I was on the inside line for the final corner. Tried to keep it on the inside. The other Volvo, though, stays out wide and manages to find enough speed to just get me on the line. It was a close finish. A very good final lap there. My AI gets past him. Yeah, that was a bit of a close finish for a second place. Good fun, that race, though. Our third and final race was at the Infineon NASCAR circuit. I started on fourth, and I was in the lead by the second and third corner. My Volvo surprisingly quick off the start line. This is rear-wheel drive converted, my 850R. It was very, very quick launching, which is, yeah, this is not a light car. It's not a small car, but it does get off the line rather rapidly, and you can see already the size of the gap it had pulled in the first few corners. I do like this track. I should point out I really do quite like this track. My Volvo was certainly good here as well. Further back, it was a little bit more chaotic with cars everywhere, pretty much. Datsun was having a look at another Volvo. Good to see plenty of Volvos represented in this versus the community. The Datsun was trying some rallycross. You're not really likely to find much space out there, and has to settle behind the Volvo for now. The MX-5 is all over the back of him, trying to find a way past. NASCAR, the NASCAR Infineon circuit, again, is another place that can be a little bit tricky to overtake. It helps when the car you're racing runs a bit wide. That's a very fast corner, that one. I love that corner. It's a great corner to race around. It's very, very easy to make a little bit of a mistake. This is your best overtaking opportunity, really, into the final corner. As you see, the RX-7 had a big dive and managed to get past the MX-5. There's overtaking going on further back as well. RX-7's on the outside, but he has the straight line speed to keep ahead of the Mazda. The Datsun's the quickest of the lot in a straight line. As they come through the first corner, there is a big chain of vehicles. This next section is a little bit weird. Everybody takes different lines through here, especially when you're racing with people. The Datsun's trying to get underneath the MX-5. The MX-5's trying to get underneath the Mazda. Nobody in the end overtakes anybody else. However, they run through the next corner. It's a great move from the Datsun. The Mazda really, I don't think, expected to find a Datsun suddenly on the inside of him through there. You can do overtakes. This is another good overtaking spot here, but yeah, a lot of the corners here are very fast. Unfortunately, a bit of a coming together between the Volvo and the RX-7 sees them both having problems. Everybody did very well to avoid the spinning RX-7 as well, and now the Datsun leads the Mazda. The Mazda there is very, very close behind, and Mazda a little bit better through the corners. Further back, and it was to be another battle with an Alpha 155. These cars are pretty well represented. We're doing pretty well for a change. I've always struggled with building these ones against a Nissan. I think this is a Silvia Club K's. I think that's the right one. The Datsun ended up finding a wall on his own. There was no assistance in that one. Yeah, I think that's a Silvia of some sort. I don't really know. As they come into the final corner, Silvia's trying to get the cutback going on the Alpha. He kind of gets the move done. Doesn't really have the acceleration on the Alpha. Ends up out wide. You can sort of keep your car around there if you've got the straight line speed. You'll end up being on the outside again for turn 1, which is not really preferable, but you'll be able to get a good line for these next corners, but the Nissan's just not quite fast enough. There's all sorts of interesting lines through this next section. Again, the Nissan trying to get up the inside, but the Alpha has very good acceleration and can keep side by side with the Nissan. I'm not quite sure where the pink car is going. There's an interesting line through there that allows the Volvo past. The Volvo ends up a little bit wide. That's a fairly common sight here. Plenty of people. I'm pretty sure I ended up out there as well at some point as the Alpha. Again, that's another place to run quite wide, or often people will run a little bit wide. Unfortunately, lag was to be a bit of a pain in this one. The other races had been alright. This one was, yeah, not so good, as a Camaro ends up going sideways a way it shouldn't. Yeah, that's an unusual spin, that one. And unfortunately, that would kill both the cars. The Toyota, again, another slightly odd lagginess going on. Yeah, a little bit of a shame. A little bit of a shame that. Unfortunately, can't really do very much about it. With the Volvo having got past these two, it was to be the Nissan against the Alpha. Again, this carried on for the first half of race. The first half of the race. Not, yeah, whatever. My English is failing today. I am sorry. Yeah, these guys carried on racing for quite some time. They were getting caught up to by the Datsun. As the Alpha ran a little bit wide, the Nissan sort of tried, he had a go, had a look at getting up the inside, was just a little bit too far back. However, the Alpha outbraked himself a tiny bit, put a wheel on the dirt again, and this time the Nissan can get past the run into the final corner. Nissan kind of outbrakes himself a little bit, runs very, very deep. You can kind of get away with that at this final corner. You can just about, sure, you're going to lose a bit of time, but because it's so wide, if you do outbrake yourself a little bit, you're not going to sort of lose too much time. The front and things were all a little bit lonely for me, really. I had driven away from the field by quite a margin. My main concern was my Volvo wanting to be a bicycle. I think about twice a lap I was on two wheels with this vehicle. It just, yeah, it liked going up on two wheels. It would have been very, very easy to roll this car around here. So, yeah, had to be a little bit careful with this one. In the end, my car really suited this track, and I really do quite like this track. But, yeah, had to be a little bit wary of the curbs with my Volvo. It was, yeah, pretty damn scary through there. Having got past the Alpha, the Nissan set off after the Volvo, as the Volvo ran very wide. One of the corners, the Nissan seized his opportunity. However, this is not an easy place to overtake and having a wheel on the dirt and just not quite getting stopped in time. The Nissan goes for a big spin. The Datsun did well to avoid him as well. Yeah, you can overtake at that corner. It is not an easy place to get past somebody. We've seen a few times cars go too wide through there. Not really an ideal opportunity. It's so easy to have an accident in that kind of a manner. The Nissan got going again. I don't think he suffered huge damage particularly in that, but yeah, incredibly easy to make a mistake. My car wasn't the only one having problems with some two-wheeled incidents, as Datsun again found a curve. They got a lot further on two wheels than I did. The Datsuns are rather prone to rolling over, or at least going on two wheels, it seems. That's what we've learned from this versus community. Anyway, yeah, I'd had a pretty lonely race. My Volvo was phenomenally good around here. I really did quite like driving it, and while everybody else had been squabbling and arguing over positions, I had got to the front on the first lap and vanished up the road. A little bit boring. I think you can just about see the MX-5 there in shot that was in second place. But yeah, my Volvo really was rather good here. And it was a very successful evening for the Volvos, all in all. However, that is it for this versus the community. It was pretty good fun, actually. There was a lot of close racing going on. The first race, not quite so much, but that's just the way the Alps is, really, especially when there were a few cars had accidents, had a little bit of damage. The next fail race versus the community shall be on Thursday, the 10th of April. We are going to be doing A-class British cars. A few people have been wanting to see that, so I'm going to give it a go. As far as sort of banned cars go, I'm not going to ban any vehicles, but I am going to say that you know, if you're likely to be at the front of the field, if you're expected to be up towards the top of the field, please don't just use a Lotus Elise or a Lotus Elan. Lotus are kind of a big English manufacturer or British manufacturer, so we do kind of need Lotus in. But yeah, be a bit creative, be a bit different. I don't just want a field of Elans because that gets a little bit boring. So yeah, the top drivers use something a little bit more interesting, please. If you want to take part, then you can sign up on our forums. The link will be in the description, and the race will be taking place at 7 PM British summer time. However, that is it for today, so thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.